In 627, Byzantine Emperor Heraclius achieved the impossible, defeating the Persian Empire after 17 years of brutal war. He recovered the true cross, Christianity's holiest relic, and returned it triumphantly to Jerusalem. 12 years later, that same relic vanished from history forever. The empire that had just won lost more territory in a single generation than Rome lost in 3 centuries. How does an empire survive losing everything, and what can their survival teach us about resilience? To understand how Byzantium fell so fast, we need to go back to 591. Emperor Maurice achieved peace with Persia and turned to fight the Avars in the Balkans. In 602, his own army rebelled and killed him. This single political failure triggered 115 years of existential crisis. Persia saw opportunity. By 617, Persian forces had taken Egypt, Syria, and Jerusalem, the true cross captured and carried to the Persian capital. Now Constantinople faced its darkest hour, attacked from 2 directions simultaneously. And the city sits on a peninsula. The Theodosian walls, massive fortifications, protected the land approach from Europe. The Bosporus Strait separated the city from Asia. Avars and Slavs attacked from the European side. Persians attacked from across the Bosporus. The empire seemed finished. Emperor Heraclius made a desperate gamble. He left Constantinople, took his army, and attacked the Persians from behind, deep in their own territory. He left the capital's defense to the Patriarch, who organized a 3-part defense, military organization of remaining forces, icons placed on the walls facing the enemy, and church treasures melted down to fund the defense. Icons, paintings of sacred figures, not statues, remain central to Orthodox Christianity today. Placing them on the walls transformed military defense into spiritual warfare. The defenders believed divine protection joined their physical fortifications. This fusion of material and spiritual resources became a Byzantine survival pattern. Against all odds, Constantinople held. The Avars retreated. Heraclius' gamble paid off. His army struck deep into Persian territory, and in 627, he achieved the impossible. At the Battle of Nineveh, Heraclius virtually destroyed the Persian Empire. He recovered the true cross and returned it to Jerusalem in triumph. The 17-year war was over. Byzantium had won, but both empires were exhausted, treasuries empty, armies depleted, populations devastated, and only one of them faced a new threat. In 622, while Heraclius was still fighting Persia, Muhammad made the Hejira, his migration from Mecca to Medina. The Hejira marks year 1 of the Islamic calendar. A new power was rising. The speed of what happened next defies belief. First Arab attacks came in 634, just 7 years after Byzantine victory over Persia. Watch the timeline. 636, Syria falls. 638, Jerusalem falls. The true cross vanishes from history, never seen again. 640, the entire Persian Empire collapses. 645, Egypt falls. 4 major conquests in 9 years. The Byzantine-Persian War created the vacuum. Arab armies faced exhausted defenders, depleted treasuries, and populations tired of war. The paradox of victory, defeating Persia, planted the seeds of the next crisis. Sometimes winning a war so completely that both sides are destroyed invites a third party to claim the prize. What remained of Byzantium, the Balkans, and Anatolia, that's it. The great Mediterranean Empire reduced to a rump state. Emperor Constans II made a strange decision. He moved the capital to Syracuse, Sicily. In 662, he became the first emperor to visit Rome since 476, nearly 200 years, a ghost emperor visiting a ghost city. The empire seemed finished. Historians of the time might reasonably have predicted Byzantium would follow Persia into oblivion. So how did this shattered empire, reduced to a fraction of its former size, survive another 800 years? In 674, an Arab fleet appeared at Constantinople. For 4 years, they besieged the city. Then in 678, the Byzantines deployed a secret weapon, Greek fire. A flaming projectile launched from ships, it burst on impact and spread flames that water couldn't extinguish. Against wooden ships, sails, and rigging, it was devastating. The Arab fleet was destroyed. The siege lifted. Constantinople would face Arab attacks again, but Greek fire gave Byzantium a technological advantage they guarded for generations. The exact formula is lost to history. Greek fire alone didn't save Byzantium. A pattern of survival emerged from this crisis, choices that seemed counterintuitive but proved essential. A typical empire tries to defend everything. Byzantium protected its core, Constantinople and Anatolia, and accepted losing the rest. A typical empire relies on military force alone. Byzantium combined military resources with religious mobilization, icons on walls, melted church treasures, spiritual warfare alongside physical defense. A typical empire uses conventional weapons. Byzantium invested in secret technology that gave them asymmetric advantage against larger forces. There's a dark irony in how the Arab conquest solved one of Byzantium's longest-running problems. For centuries, the empire had struggled with the monophysite controversy, a theological dispute about Christ's nature. Egypt, Syria, and other eastern provinces held different views than Constantinople. The Arab conquest removed those territories from the empire entirely. The religious controversy that had divided Byzantium for generations simply disappeared. The empire that survived was smaller but more religiously unified. Sometimes survival means accepting what you cannot keep and focusing on what you can defend. The 7th century crisis reveals a counterintuitive truth about survival. Heraclius won his war against Persia, a total victory. But that victory exhausted both empires and created the conditions for Arab conquest. Winning everything can cost you everything. The empire that survived wasn't the one that held all its territory. It was the one that identified what was essential: Constantinople's walls, Anatolia's manpower, the Bosporus choke point, and defended those while letting go of the rest. Byzantium lasted another 800 years after this crisis. It would face more invasions, more sieges, more moments when extinction seemed certain. Each time, the same pattern: protect the core, combine material and spiritual resources, invest in technological advantage, and accept strategic losses rather than catastrophic defeat. The true cross vanished in 638. The empire that once held it endured until 1453. Sometimes the relic is lost, but the faith and the strategic wisdom survives.